Doing today? Welcome to my photography editing live stream where you can submit your photos before the stream starts and I edit them here for you live. And again, I'll be using DxO Photolab 8. It's my preferred photo editor and the one I use the most. I mean, I use a few others time to time, but I always start with DxO Photolab 8 and I'm usually done with DxO Photolab 8. I'm an affiliate for DxO, and if you'd like to get a 30-day free trial, there's affiliate links down below. And if you decide to purchase, of course, I'll earn a commission, and that's greatly appreciated. But and I think these streams are about seeing the tools available in DxO and how I use them, my workflow approach to editing photos, and I tend to like these better than sort of these canned Photolab or editing reviews because, they're kind of cherry picking images to best illustrate things. And it's nothing like seeing your own photo getting edited, using the software you might be thinking about purchasing. So with that said, I got 8 images today, so it's kind of short notice on my part. I'm sorry about that. So we didn't get a lot of images, so hopefully I can get through these pretty quickly and then maybe do an open Q&A, talk about, photo editing in general. And I see Roger's here, William and Paul. Good to see you, Jeff. Good to see you. And Tim Adams, hello. And I think it was Paul. I think you were asking on um, the Sunday live stream about you were editing something in Luminar, let me rephrase that. I think what you said was you exported the DxO denoised, optically corrected images in DNG, then you edit them in Luminar Neo. And then when you tried to go back to Photolab, Photolab couldn't open the file anymore, even though it's a DNG. So what I found out was is that, and I kind of suspected this, was that DxO will support DNG files from cameras that it supports, right? But DNG is just another kind of container. It's not an end-all be-all or universal format. If you export, say, from Adobe products like Adobe DNG Converter or from Photoshop, it will be able to edit those DNG files. But any other software, when they export as DNG, it's going to have its own proprietary editing built into the DNG file that Photolab's not going to recognize and hence it can't open. So yeah, so just rule of thumb is Photolab only supports DNG files that it supports. That is photos exported from Adobe DNG RAW converter and cameras that have DNG as the default format in exports, assuming they support the camera. One camera I know it doesn't support is the my Pentax monochrome. Even though it exports DNG files, I can't open them in Photolab. So a lot of times I just have to convert them to TIFF. So if you convert files to TIFF, then you should be able to open them up generally in Photolab. It's a lot more compatible universally than DNG is. But then again, there's still times when it, you can't even open a TIFF file. So sorry about that. Um, I don't know why, when I start talking, you get all this phlegm, and it's very distracting. I'm sorry about that. So anyhow, okay, so again, that's what it is with DNGs. DNG is just a container like TIFF, like JPEG, and there has to but DNGs are considered RAWs that have all kinds of markers and everything in there that every software can add their own, and Photolab's just not going to recognize stuff from other software that's been edited. Okay. So I did try it, and that's what I found out. So let me pull up the screen. We'll go ahead and get started with the editing here. And okay, first one here is a barn, and I did get your email, Roger. You wanted me to email you the final edit of this, so I'll send that to you. Okay, so I think compositionally we're okay. It's a little bit, it's very, very busy here. So the question is, do we want to go sort of a surreal type of edit and soften up all of the harsh lighting, or do we want to keep it realistic? And let me just apply basic preset first, which is essentially optical corrections and denoising applied. I see. Let me just brighten up the shadows. I just want to see what's in here in the barn. So we have a couple of windows, a little bit of a crush there, and a cable. And then all of this brush. So I need to do something about this brush. I think black and white might be the way to go. But I'm going to edit in color. And then usually if I edit in color first, converting to black and white uh, is a really good place to start with black and white after you're done editing the color. At least what I've found when I'm working with images. Uh, okay, I'm going to crop this out. I'm going to make a little tighter and wider crop. I don't think we need all of this down here. So that's always my first thing when I look at photos is the overall composition and colors and balance. And I feel like just a wider crop would work for this image. Maybe come in a little tighter. Okay, that kind of works. What if I come in on this left side? So the barn is a little bit far away to see the details that I'm interested in. So I'm just trying to bring them a little closer. I think this will work. I'm just gonna pop the perspective button here and see if yeah, that doesn't make any difference. Okay, so good job with getting your line straight on this one. Very, very level. Uh, okay, so the light is coming, this is into, so it's coming from the left side, but a little bit behind. So it's pretty much high noon. Okay. Let me let me just work with the shadows down here in the windows. I'm gonna do a control point and just bring up those shadows. Let me tighten up the Luma mask a tiny bit. And then let's warm it up a little bit. And when I do white balance adjustments, I try to do it within 500 kelvins generally. Okay, and just so that everything stays balanced with the white balance, and but the colors, because I don't want to have some weird, really warm spot, and then the rest of the image is kind of cool, etc. Let me add a little bit of clear view and some micro contrast because I want to try to bring out some of the details in the barn there. Okay, and then I'm going to pull the highlights on this roof a little bit. Okay, and I'll just use a control point, a little bit tighter Luma mask. I'll just go across like this. and just bring that in a bit. Again, let's bring out some of the details with clear view and micro contrast. And I'm going to see there is a tiny bit of color in there. I'll see if I can exaggerate that a bit. Okay, good. And there's some brick in here. Well, no, not really. It's just maybe cedar shingles. Okay. All right, so the barn looks better. Uh, well, let's do the same treatment on the front of this little shed here. Maybe use the no. Let's just make a new control point. Clear view, micro contrast. Okay. And then a slight pull. Just use this control point. All right. Okay, now in the brush, I have sort of these very light browns and green. So I'm going to try and separate those colors a little bit. So let's go to the color, and I'm going to try with the color wheel. Let's just select sort of this brownish, reddish. Yeah, something like that. And bring up the saturation a bit there. Yeah, that's good. Maybe pull the brightness down a tiny, it is that color is affecting over here. So what I'm going to do instead, let me reset this because I'm changing the colors on the barn. I'll just do it with the local control points. So I'll just pick this. And we'll tighten up the chroma mask. That's good. That's good. In here. Maybe a little bit right there. Okay, that might be enough. I'll expand this one a little bit. Okay, so I still have the same color selected as I'd selected when I was over here. So I'm going to push this a little bit more. Okay. So now we're seeing some of the browns in here. Now the greens are a little bit strong, so maybe let's try control line. Right up to about here. Let's pull the brightness down and tighten up the luma mask and the chroma mask. Okay. And on luma and chroma, I generally I try to do only 5 or 10%, points either way. Uh, Occasionally I have to be a little bit more extreme, but for the most part, 55 between 45 and 55 is a good range. Maybe 60 in some cases, but that helps me keep the adjustments look more natural. Uh, so you don't get any harsh, because for example, if I push the chroma all the way, it's not really doing anything there. This is not a good spot to test this to demonstrate this, but it starts to look a little unnatural if you push it too much. So 55, 55. Let me get it back to that. And then I'm going to graduate this into the upper part. All right, let me just get a feel for where I'm at. Okay, good. So I think it's still a bit too busy because I have the lighting kind of where I want it. I could maybe do a little bit with the blues. Uh, let me just select the blue. See if I can just bring them in a bit. Okay. All right. Uh, yeah. There's a little bit of yellow. I wish there were some flowers in here. That would be a nice accent to the image. It's a little bit of green here. I'm going to work on that. Let me just brighten that up. I'm going to tighten the chroma, which is color. Try and get this in. Yeah, that's good. So I like to move the control point around to see how the masking is, to make sure I got it right on the color that I want, and maybe the luma as well. Okay. And then let's just work with the greens and brighten those up a bit. Okay. Oh, that's a bit too much. If I shift those a little bit warmer. Okay, that looks better. And I'm going to warm up this area in here again. Let's see. This side needs a little more warming. Okay, now I'm going to go to the windows here. This one, tighten up the chroma. And this one. It's a little smaller. And I want to bring these windows out a little bit more. So I'm going to push these quite a bit, push the highlights, maybe a tiny bit in the midtones. Okay. All right, so this brush, I'm going to come back to this brush. That was the control line, right? Let me see if I can soften this up. Pull the micro contrast back. Hmm. Just trying to see. I think, yeah, I'm just going to pull the contrast way back on these. Right about there. I don't need that. Let me pull the blacks in. Just push the midtones and go back to the reds. I'm gonna brighten those maybe or darken them. Okay. All right, let me see where I'm at again. All right, let me go to a global thing here and just pull the micro contrast back a bit. And maybe just a touch on the blacks, slight push on the shadow. I think that's it. Let me just maybe do a vignette. Uh, so take this out. And to do vignettes, if you don't have the film pack installed, you just add a control point, turn the chroma and luma down to 0, then invert the control point, and then you can just pull the exposure back. Okay, that looks better. I like the, let me brighten this a little bit, then pull the blacks. Do it this way. All right. Okay. Uh, I think that's a good color version. And then there's black and white. That's pretty close, but I think the color's better. So I'm going to go with this. We'll just do a quick export. Everything looks good. Original folder. Okay, very good. So we'll compare. All right, so there's the original on the right, and then my edit here on the left. Uh, yeah, I think that's a lot better. So if I just do a, before and after this way, the emphasis being separating the greens and reds here, and then bringing up sort of the smaller details that I liked in the barn, and that's what we have here. Okay. Uh, very good. And the next one here, and I see a couple of things in the chat. Hey, Marco, how are you? Good to see you. Um, and Larry's here. Good morning. Are there any details in the barn photo? Not really. I mean, let me just show you what I mean. Oops, turn that off. How do I get back to, oh, here. So we'll go back to the edit. The only details I might be able to bring out, I would use clear view. So we'll get a control line, pull it down, move the dropper up to the blue area, and then just do that. So really the only thing in the sky is just a gradation from this lighter area where the sun's coming from to the darker area. but I don't think that may help a little bit, just making a little bit darker. But yeah, there's no clouds or anything that I could see. Okay. And oh, Jan is here. Good to see you, Jan. Oh, missing opportunity to buy coffee. No big deal. Let's see. Any chance file size? No, not 200 meg. I I don't have that much space on my hard on my Google Drive. I just use the free account. Uh, so yeah, sorry. Um, let's see. Rob, would it be good if Deep Prime worked on? Oh yeah, see, TIFFs. The problems with TIFF is they're already a TIFF file has already been demosaicked, meaning the raw data, even though a TIFF is basically a raw file, the data is spread out in a linear fashion and it's already demosaicked. I can't explain it very well, but uh, the way Pure Raw and DxO work, the denoising, is it demosaics. It takes every single red, green, and blue individual subpixel to analyze the data and denoise. Whereas a TIFF file, the that data is not really there anymore for DxO to analyze. I think I got that right, but that's the problem is TIFF files are already demosaicked and you cannot uh, convert it back to raw to denoise it because yeah, pure raw basically is a raw processor, so I don't think they'll be able to do it now. Uh, if they come up with some other kind of AI algorithm that can denoise any image like JPEGs, TIFFs, whatever, then that's a different kind of program, right? Different algorithm. But that's not what Pure Raw is. Pure Raw, Deep Prime, they demosaic the image from scratch, from the raw data to denoise the image, and that's why it's so good. Whereas, a lot of denoising software uh, don't do that. They take an already demosaicked image, so that's why you can denoise, say, in other software, any kind of image format because it's not looking at the raw data. It's looking at what's already been interpolated and demosaicked. And that's what a TIFF file is. It's already demosaic. There's a color profile kind of built in. Uh, there's some limitations with TIFF that PureRAW just would not, or Deep Prime would not be able to work with. Uh, I don't know if I explained that exactly right, but that's kind of the gist of it. And I don't see any other questions there. So let's go to the next image. Okay. Okay, we have a nice landscape here. So we'll do a basic preset. And I'm just going to brighten the image just to get a feel for what's in the scene. So whenever I have an image that's kind of dark and or there's underexposed areas, I like to brighten it first to see if there's any details. Like in the barn, I was able to see the windows and sort of the cedar wood panels. In this scene, I'm seeing, of course, the mountainside. Whereas, the original image, I can't see anything. It's all silhouette. It's interesting this is underexposed. Oh, you did a spot high. So you were trying to preserve the shadows. I'm sorry, spot high is highlights. I always get these mixed up, but you're trying to preserve the highlights basically without regard to the shadow areas. But this scene is not a super wide dynamic range scene because it's cloudy. So you probably could have got away with a normal exposure and or normal metering and got the same results in terms of editing. So again, I think just a wide crop on this landscape would look good. Let's go 16 by 7 and that's fine right there. Let's just start with the sky and do a clear view there. Ooh, we can see a couple of sensor spots there. Oh, here at f16, that's why. Those are easy enough to fix. Wow, there's a big one there, there. They're kind of everywhere. Maybe not go so heavy on the clear view. Uh, yeah, we'll go, I guess, about there and right there. Okay. And then let's make another control line for the mountains. And most of the light is back here, so maybe just do a very subtle push. Just a subtle push here. There's a little bit of haze or clouds over here. It's interesting. Some micro contrast. And then let me push the highlights like that. Okay. If I raise this up, all right, good. All right, I think that's good. I don't want to make it too bright because it is basically sunset or sunrise here. I'm going to try control point right here. Just bring this back up. And then we'll just follow that. I might need to do a different one. Let me make a new control point. So I kind of want to bring that light forward a little bit. And let's warm it up like that. What are we at? 67? Let me go to 7,000. Maybe 71, 72. Okay, that's enough. Okay. Uh, I just want to see just a tiny bit more, maybe a little magenta. No. Okay. How about some contrast? Just global. And we'll push the highlights a bit. All right. And this bottom control line, I'm wondering, maybe I need to, I'm just getting just a tiny bit of haloing right in here. So I'm going to see if I can tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, that's not helping. just a little better. Okay, it's the micro contrast causing a lot of that. So I'm going to back that off a bit. And we'll just use control points to bring out the details here. And just keep them away from the edges. All right. Make a slight push. Okay, and then there's a cloud. I don't know if I can, maybe if I just work on the water like that. Again, I need to watch my edges here a little bit. Okay. And okay, globally, let me see if there's anything that might make this. No, I don't like that or that. And then let me just warm up the image overall. Bring back some greens. And then we'll fix these sensor spots. Uh, I don't think I can fix that one too well. We'll try. Not so much. Do that. Okay, that's not bad. So on here, there's a few others, but they're not that noticeable. Okay. All right, let me look at this crop one more time. So I like the color here in the sky. But I kind of like the having the foreground. Let's try 16 by 9. Okay. I think the wider crop worked better though. Hmm. Not sure. There's another sensor, big giant sensor spot here. I'm just going to work around the edges of it so it's not so obvious. Let me Okay. Then the crop, I'm gonna go with 16 by 9 because I do like the sky. So I need to see the balance here. What about there? All right, I think I'll go with that. So let's export this. I forgot to put sRGB in there. Okay, so let's do that. And once that's done, did that export or not? Oh, it's still exporting. Okay, we'll give it a second. All right, good. So let's reset this and do a side by side. All right, so there's the before picture, standard 4:3 crop, right, from the camera raw. Um, and then there's my edit. So I really like the texture here in the rocks and the subtle shades of greens against this blue. And then I tried to bring out, I just had to warm up a tiny bit on this side to bring this light in. Uh, and then I like the slight color variations here in the cloud as well. So I think this looks pretty good. Versus this was basically a silhouette with one little spot there, right? But yeah, I like how that came out. It's a little bit gritty. If I was to go back and edit this a little more, I'd probably just back off the micro contrast a bit to make the image just a tiny bit softer, uh, especially right in here. But other than that, I think that would be my final edit. Okay, let's see what else we got. Uh, yeah, and Brooke has a question here. Yeah, cranking up clear view and micro contrast, then it's very easy to see the spots. So if we go back to this image here, right? Um, let me edit. So this is the original raw, right? So what I can do is just crank up the micro contrast, and right away I can see the spots pretty easily. And then clear view is good too. This image was kind of dark, but that's the easiest way to see the spots. Clear view and micro contrast. Now I can see one here, one here, one here. So maybe here that might be just cloud cover. But yeah, that would be the easiest way. So now if I zoom in a little, it might be easier to see. This looks like a giant one here, and then there's some spots here and here and here and over here. They're kind of everywhere. All right, let's see. Go to the next one. Now this is weird. I'm getting banding, it looks like. Uh, because this weird yellow and yellow, this looks like banding. You must have used silent shutter on this, is my guess. So what I'm gonna do, let's see if the black and white, yeah, the black and white gets rid of that banding of color. Because otherwise there's some interesting yellows and blacks in here on this lizard, but because of this banding here, uh, we're not going to be able to work with that. So let's do a basic preset, and definitely got to go black and white. And let's do the eyes. Bring the clear view. Get that to look just the way I want. Okay. Maybe there. And some micro contrast. Okay, and then let's push. The banding is visible down here still. Oops, I'm gonna make a new control line. See if I can minimize that effect a bit with a slight push. That way. Now, let's try to minimize the light around the lizard. Maybe just up in here. Like that. And then see if I can exaggerate the textures and things in the skin. Okay. I didn't even think about a crop. If I did a 1 by 1, let's do 3 by 2. Okay. And I'm going to just go back to darkening some of these spots just individually. Just give this a little bit of a push. Hmm. The only thing I'm thinking is if I'm uh if I'm really careful, I might be able to bring out the little bit of pattern that I'm seeing in the lizard. So let me try something. If I do this and tighten up the luma, let me see. No, it's not. Yeah, the shades are just a little bit too common, too varied. They're just too close together, the shading. I was thinking I could try to separate these a little bit, but that's not looking great. Okay. I'm gonna have to make a new, I want to make a new one here. All right, I think that's it. Uh, so I don't really need to export this one. But there's the original. It's a shame there's banding because there's some interesting blues and yellows in here against the black that I could have exploited a bit. But going black and white, we kind of lose that a little bit. But this image is basically ruined because of the banding. Uh, and this kind of works because at least you don't see the banding. Because I would have really liked a color shot of this guy. All right. Let's go to the next one. So that was from Jan. Okay, Jan. Yeah. Use mechanical shutter in artificial lighting typically, or there should be an anti-flicker option in the camera menu somewhere. That works, sometimes, not all the time. Mechanical shutter is really the best way to work with indoor lighting or artificial lighting, I should say. Okay, let's see. One here from Dudley. Some really pretty flowers along the fence. So this was very deliberate, I think, the fence line. And I think it makes sense. It tells part of the story of these flowers, you know. Um, just have to maybe just square it off, I think. So I'm going to do a basic preset and let's apply. I think a square crop would work good on this. Okay. And just brighten the flowers up just a tiny bit here in the front. Probably don't need to do too much, and then just pull the highlights back on the rest of the scene. Be more linear. Let's tighten up the chroma mask a bit. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to maybe exaggerate these leaves a little bit. Maybe just clear view will do it, yeah. And a little bit of micro contrast and some vibrancy just on these guys. I'm going to minimize this red. And then we'll emphasize these darker reds. So pretty good, this one. Just a little kiss on the chroma mask. Just bring these up a bit. Ah, let's see if how bad I messed that up. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all it needs, really, because a wide crop would not work. Let me just do a global try. think I think vibrant works best. Okay. All right. I think that's it. So uh just do a quick export, and when that's done, we can do a side by side. So we'll reset that, compare it with the output. Okay, so here's the original, and then just my edit with a crop. But yeah, this image was pretty much straight out of camera. It looked just fine. So all I did was just add a little more contrast, basically. Uh, okay. Let's see what else we got. Thank you, Dudley, for sending that one. And let's see, we have a train. So I'll do a basic preset. Uh, whoops. Let's let's edit this. So the clouds have a lot of good detail. The perspective is a tiny bit off. I don't think perspective correction is gonna. Yeah, that doesn't look right. So we'll leave that alone. What's this? These lights are on, so I'm gonna try and exaggerate that. Small window here. Oh, there's the conductor in there. That guy does not look like a conductor, right? Like a train driver. I mean, it most likely is. I mean, you think about the conductors wearing the conductor hat and all of that. This guy looks like a tourist. But anyhow, some good yellows here to separate, and then I think this is supposed to be white, but it's just dirty. So okay. I think I know what I want to do. I just need a slight tilt. I need to work on the I don't know. Maybe if I just back this off a bit. I'm just I just need a slight, just a very subtle shift on the lines here. Okay, I think that works. I don't know why. I can't spot where the problem is, but there's something just a little off about this photo in terms of perspective. Okay, so with a train, I always look for lighting and the wheels and, windows and then of course any fine details. And then the only color I see here is this yellow and a few hints of red. So I'm going to exaggerate that. And then the clouds are going to, yeah, clear view will really bring out some nice detail in the clouds. So I think we're good on this for the most part. I have a plan. So we'll just start with the low-hanging fruit, the clouds. Let's tighten up the Luma mask a bit and just hit the clear view on that. Maybe the highlights a tiny bit and a bit of micro contrast. All right. And then I'm going to see if I can bring out these yellows. Maybe we'll just try this with control points. Tighten up the Luma and the chroma just a bit. And we'll go right to spread that out a little bit. Okay, that worked. Just have to be a little careful. Just hit some spots here. I'm just going to exaggerate this yellow a bit. Okay. And then this last one, we'll get rid of that. Okay. Now let's work on the red spots. So I'm just selecting the red on the color wheel here to kind of minimize the impact to the other colors around it, primarily this blue. Okay. It's very, very subtle. And then let me just globally, I want to darken this image a bit. Hmm. Maybe a better way would be to hold the control line down. Okay. Now this color, let me see what this color is. So I'm going to select it on the global page. It's definitely blue. Go back to the control points. So this is a little trick that uh, some of you may not have seen, but when you do control points, like I'm going to select this area here, the the color wheel, there's no eyedropper on the color wheel, right? Whoops. Where'd the color wheel go? The heck? Oh, here, HSL. The HSL. I just call it the color wheel. So what you can do is just go back to the global color place and just put the eyedropper wherever you want. So if I wanted to go back and select these yellows again, like this, then when I go back to my control point, the yellow's selected. I don't know why they don't just put an eyedropper here, but uh, so I want to select the blues. So I'm going to select the blue here and then go back. And now the blue that I selected on the other panel is now in the control point. So let me see if I can just push the blues, maybe some contrast. And we're going to tighten up the chroma just a bit. Make these smaller. All right, very subtle changes. All right, let's do a couple of windows. And that's just clear view and micro contrast. Maybe just pull the vibrancy a bit. Okay. Do that one. And then the lights. One there, one there, one there. Let's just exaggerate those a lot. Okay. And we'll do the wheels. It's just all around in here. Let's try pushing the highlights. And I like to work my way from the opposite direction. If I want to brighten an image, I'll start at the highlights and then go to midtones and then finally shadows. That's generally how I like to do things if I want to brighten things. If I want to darken things, then I do opposite. I start at the blacks, then go to the shadows and work my way up. Okay. Just pushing the shadows. And clear view and micro contrast. Okay. Can do the same thing there. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, so let me just clean up the whites on this. Tighten up the chroma in this case. All right, then last but not least, maybe just do a little bit on the conductor. Okay. I don't think, yeah, black and white doesn't look bad either. But I think that's all we need to do. So let's just do just the before and after without exporting. So that's the before, and then here's the after. Just made it a little more dramatic. Actually, I probably should have done something with the tracks here. Let me let me just work. Last thing is these tracks. Let's just use a control line. And pull the highlights and the blacks. All right. Now we can do a before and after. So there's the before, and then this is my edit. Just making it more dramatic, bring out the contrast. Uh, Mostly just bring out the contrast and a few highlights. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to the library. And we have, I don't know what that is. Creature of some kind. We need an optics module. So let's download. Let's download the optics module for this. It's a GX8 with a 45 to 200. Oh, okay. I've never seen that lens. That's an interesting lens, a 45 to 200 f5.6. That's pretty slick. I'll have to look at that. That's an interesting lens. I like this focal range here. All right. I think we'll just get rid of this one corner here with a crop. And then come in this way. Yeah, I think that works better. And let's see if I can just bring out, there's a little bit of brown in the eyes. It's very, very subtle. See if I can bring those out a bit. without making them glow. Okay. And gosh, the face is already pretty bright. Got a nice rim light here. Uh, it's just a little bit cooler down here. So let's do this, tighten up the chroma. I just want to change the white balance on the wood a little bit without affecting the this creature, whatever it is. So we're at 37. Let's go to about 42. Yeah, that looks good. And the creature itself, I'm wondering if I can just bring out a little extra detail there. Okay, let's do a new control point. Just to bring that rim lighting a little bit more onto the tail. Maybe this ear. Nah, it doesn't need to be there. Okay, and then let's bring some of the contrast into the fur. Maybe just a light pull here. Tighten up the Luma mask. Just the darker areas. Hmm. Let's just pull the darkness down in here. Tighten up the Luma mask again, just a hair. Okay. Hmm. I don't know. Can I get rid of that? Not really. This is just a little bit too bright. Okay. One more glow. Maybe. Come on. All right, I think that's it. So I'm going to export this one All looks good. All right. All right. So this image was pretty good straight out of camera. Hold on. Compare. Oh, I got to reset it. I was like, why does it look the same? All right. So this is my edit, and there's the original. So the original's, like I said, it's pretty good straight out of camera. Just needed a little crop. This was the most distracting element in the scene. And then this little dapple of light bothered me. But other than that, I didn't need to do much. You know, just kind of accentuate a little bit of the highlights on the feather or the tail here and bring out the eyes a tiny bit. And I think if we zoom in, I think we're good. Yeah. Did I? Let me check something. Something doesn't look right. I did not apply a preset. I was like, "Well, there's still a little bit of noise in this image. Let me let me just get all these things fixed real quick." And then export that to disk and overwrite. All right, sorry. Let me try one more time. I didn't apply the DxO stuff correctly. There's some optical distortion there too. That's not so bad, but okay, let's reset, compare. All right, that's better. Jeez. All right, sorry about that. So here's my edit, and then here's the original. And now when we zoom in, I think we can see, there's a lot more detail now, like in the fine furs and things. 'Cause yeah, the previous export, I forgot to apply my basic preset, but I think, yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. Um, that's a cool shot though. Let's see. We have a blue heron. So apply preset. Let's do a square crop and just come in just somewhere around there, maybe. Well, let's do the 3 by 2, maybe. Yeah, that fits a little better. And let's work on the eye. I get right on the yellow. Let's see. Oh, this 70 to 300. That's got to be the 4/3 lens. It's like this is a little bit soft, but it's not the 75 to 300. It's the 70 to 300. We'll do that separately. Let's see. Let's work on some of the shadow areas. Tighten up the luma just a bit. Push the shadows, the clear, some micro contrast. And then let's go back to the beak and talons. Maybe let's try a masking brush. See what that does. Almost. Give it a little vibrancy. Just a kiss to the highlights. Oh, maybe not. Let me just erase inside. Okay. And then just a little bit off the edges. All right. A little bit of a kiss on the feet as well. Probably use the same mask. Didn't do much. Let's do a just give it a little bit of a push. Okay. And then a little bit more kiss on the wings here with highlights. Maybe there and there. Okay, I think that's it. Uh, so distortion, there's no optical corrections for this lens, unfortunately, so it's resorting to unsharp mask. So let me try. Just a little bit, and let me check the denoising in the shadows. Okay, not bad. All right, I think that's the best we're going to be able to do. Uh, let's do a vignette. So again, just put the control point anywhere in the middle. Turn the chroma and luma down to 0. Invert the mask. And then just pull the exposure down. Maybe pull the blacks a little harder. Some clear view for the water. And then let's do a little bit of a push globally. How about smart lighting? Yeah, that looks good. And maybe a tiny bit of warmth, just maybe 100. Yeah, there we go. All right. Let's export that and see what we get. Okay, so I'm going to reset this. So that's the before. Where's the after? It's over here. All right, very good. So yeah, we have to heavily crop as we always do with wildlife. But yeah, I think the details came out pretty good. You just have to kind of tweak the unsharp mask. And I like to use the loop tool to kind of, punch in when I'm doing unsharp mask. Because you don't want to overdo it, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if if you were to take this into Topaz Sharpen, that you wouldn't be able to get just a little more polish out of it. Topaz Sharpen AI is pretty good at images like this. Like, especially the feathers here, I bet it would make a pretty big difference. And on the feet, I'm a little curious. If we export to, oops, let's see if, let's see what happens if, what Topaz Sharpen would do. I have an older version, so, but yeah, it's more like motion blur. But let's see what the standard does. I don't use this very often, but once in a while, let's try motion blur. Normal, because we are getting some motion blur. Ugh. How about very blurry? It helped a little bit. It's a little bit too strong. We'll pull it back a little and then apply and see what happens. So yeah, it helps a little, but now it's clearly been over processed. But it doesn't look bad, right? That's the Topaz AI version. This is the this looks a little more natural, but I this motion blur down here is bothering me a little bit. But that's not bad. It just gave it a little more polish, but it looks a little over polished now. Just a tiny bit to me. But okay, let's go to the next one here from Jeff. And man, what a cool scene. Some little foxes and cubs. Let me, how do I, let me get to the edit module. Let's just fix that and crop in. Okay, I think that's a decent crop. I mean, I'm not crazy about these bags here in the background, but then again, the context of the scene is interesting. Oh, did I apply my preset? I did not. Let me do that first. Apply preset. Let's do this perspective correction, and then we can crop back in the way I was thinking. Like that. And let's do a little bit on the eyes. Doesn't need much. Whoops. It's a giant. I think just clear view and micro contrast. I don't need to brighten those much. But I will do just maybe a little brightening overall, maybe a half a stop. Let's do a half a stop there, then globally pull back about a half. I think that, yeah, that works. And I'm going to push the vibrancy here. Okay. Move that a tiny bit. Let's brighten the chest a little bit as well. Maybe just pull the highlight here a little bit. And then see where we're at. Okay. Uh, let's do one. Let's just do a little bit of a vignette now. Move this over. Give this a little bit more brightness. All right. Still need a slight tilt, but I think we're okay. I think I'm done there. Maybe a little bit of warmth globally. Let's just give it a little push, just a couple hundred Kelvin. And the nose is a little bright. Did I do something? I don't see. Let me just pull this a tiny bit. Yeah, about a third of a stop. Okay. All right. I think we're good. So I'm gonna export that one. Okay, so that's my edit there, just so you can kind of see it full screen. And then here's the before picture. So, it's typical with a raw file. It's a little bit flat, right? So we just have to add contrast and punch the color a little bit. And then I just wanted to make it a little bit warmer. I think that looks pretty good. And then I also, brightened up just right here in the area around the foxes were versus the rest. And then I threw a vignette on top of that. So it should be, pretty obvious that the lighting on the animals are brighter, but in a more natural way. I only pushed like it's about a one-stop spread between the animals and the rest of the scene immediately around because I only did about plus a half here and then negative a half on the overall image. I could do more back in here, but it's not really necessary. There's only so much you can kind of mask or correct before it becomes so obvious that you're trying to hide something. It's better just to include things in the context that you find things. So I think that looks pretty good. So okay, and that was the last one. Wow, those were some awesome pictures this week, guys. Hopefully I did them justice. Let me just check on the chat here. Paul says, nice edit on the locomotive. Oh, okay, thanks. It was okay. Oh, so that other animal's a red panda. That's interesting. I had no idea. Never seen one before. And then you say the lens gets a bad rap, but I've always been happy with it. It's okay. I wasn't too impressed with that image there, but you can't judge a lens by one shot, right? I'd have to kind of, like you've had it for a while. I had that lens actually, but I also have the 50 to 200 f2.8. So I got rid of the 70 to 300. When we're talking about 4/3 lenses, the 50 to 200 was a lot sharper, and I was able to just crop in the 50 to 200 and get a sharper image than if I had shot at natively at 300 with the other lens. And I did a very similar edit to yours, removing a highlight in front of the panda. Oh, wow. Great minds think alike, right? And Robin says, thank you for, oh, you're welcome. Glad you like it. I forget which one was yours. Uh, it's all Roger, Jan, Dudley, Paul. There it is. Oh, the heron. Okay. Yeah, that came out pretty good. Okay. And Darko's here. Hey, good morning, Darko. I think that was it. And I wasn't aware of all the details I could retrieve from the monitor. Yeah, you'd be surprised how much you can push the shadows on a digital camera. The highlights not so much. It's a little harder with highlights, but with shadows, you do have a little more wiggle room to push them just a little bit without seeing all the noise. If you push them too much, you'll see a lot of noise, but just a little bit. I might have a stream Sunday, Darko. I should be. I should be having a stream Sunday. I have trouble planning too far ahead. I always kind of soft plan Sunday, Tuesday, Friday for live streams, but I don't lock them in stone until like the day or two before. So today's Friday. I'll have to decide tomorrow. But people are used to seeing me come in on Sunday, Tuesday, Friday. So always plan to be here for that if but check in the morning before you wait, right? I wish I could plan a little further ahead, but I just can't. It's just not in my nature. I'm a procrastinator by nature, so it's hard for me to plan that far ahead. It's like doing these meetups online, the annual meetup and the interviews and the group chats that I do. I always struggle setting those up because I just don't like to plan that far out in advance. But everybody, in the real world, everybody plans way ahead. So I just have to adapt best I can, right? Ah, oh, you're talking about the Lumix 45 to 200. Okay. All right. Sorry. I was working on the 70 to 300, I think, when you were made that comment. So that's why I thought it was that lens. Yeah, the 45 to 200, that's an interesting focal length. Uh, because it's just a little more reach than the 40 to 150, and it stays at f5.6 all the way up to 200. So that's pretty good. That could be pretty tempting. I have to if and those probably go for next to nothing, right? Like $100 because it's not too different than the 40 to 150. But I don't have a native Panasonic camera to put it on. Not that that makes a big difference, but I think that's why I stuck with the 40 to 150 because I have all native. I need to get me a micro four thirds. Excuse me, a micro four thirds Panasonic. I've been gassing for the S1R Mark II, but you know, Robin Wong talked about some Panasonics yesterday in his stream, and the GX9, I think it is, right? Or the GX9 would be an interesting addition, or the original G9. I don't think I need to. I don't think I would consider the G9 Mark II, but the original G9 or the GX9, those two look really interesting. I can probably pick up the G9 a lot cheaper than GX9 though, probably for like half the price. And they're basically the same camera. Just one has, a grip, right? And yeah, that 45 to 150, that's definitely been discon I would have to pick it up on the used market. And hey, Shri, how are you? A little late to the party here, but I think we'll call it here. So if we don't have any other questions about photo editing or really anything you want to talk about, I can end it here. Thanks so much for sending your images and letting me edit those. There was some really good shots today to edit. I'll try and post a little sooner for next week and get through the edits a little faster. I've been taking my time with them today because I only had 8 images, so I can do 8 images. I can take my time with them and explain a little more of what I was doing. And Jeff says, OM System are doing a deal with the OM1 12 to 40 Pro and the 4150 for 2000 in the UK. Yeah, no, we don't get those deals in the US. It's surprising. Because I've seen those deals pop up a couple of times in the UK, but never in the US that I recall. I mean, there might have been one time we got something like that where you would buy it and get a couple of Pro lenses with it, but I can't remember it coming up as often as I see it in the UK. I think it was with the EM1X they were offering if you buy the EM1X, but that was a tough sell for Olympus, right? So they packaged it with their lenses, I think, to try to sell it more. But the OM1, we'll never see a deal like that here. 2000 bucks with 2 Pro lenses like that? There's just no way. Um, unfortunately. But I need to replace my 12 to 40 or get a 12 to 45 f4 or maybe get I'm thinking about the 12 to 35 f2.8 from Panasonic because my 12 to 40 Pro, I mounted it onto my camera yesterday on my OM1 and it would not work. I kept getting a black screen. So I took it off and I put another lens on. And now when I put it back on again later yesterday and it was working fine. But there's no reason for it not to be working when I put it on the camera ever. It should work every time. But I've mounted it, dismounted it, mounted it back on a couple of times, and it just would not work on my OM1. Turn the camera off, remove the battery, nothing. So I ended up using, another lens with the OM1. And then later that day, I said, all right, let me try again. And I put the lens on and it worked fine. Didn't make any sense. So I'm assuming it's the lens. It might be the camera, but I assume it's the lens because as soon as I put a different lens on the OM1, it was fine, right? And as soon as I took the lens off of the OM1, I could see in the live view, uh, the light coming into the sensor. So I don't think it was the camera. But okay, guys, you guys have a great weekend. I will try to be back on Sunday. It's very likely I'll be here, but if not, I'll see you again soon. Okay, thanks for joining me today.